Yeah, we'll try to catch up then.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Everyone, welcome. Tonight is the meeting of the school committee. First order of business will be a little different tonight. I'm going to ask everybody for a brief moment of silence. Sadly, we lost Renee True and her husband David over the past week, and so we want to honor them, and we'll just take a few moments of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I also should mention, the superintendent informed me today, we lost one of our students who had left the program a little while ago today, but who had been in our Ames program for a long time. Brett Benner had been in the program for a while, so we just want to take a few moments of that and do a moment of silence for Brett, who sadly passed away today too. Thank you, everybody. And with that, as has been the case, we will have the public comments out and people are allowed to put questions in the chat and we'll try to answer them as best we can. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Natalia Parkinson, who's our student representative. And so I'll have her brought up. So Natalia, welcome and happy holidays first and foremost.
Thank you, you too.
Happy snow day to you.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll turn it over to you, Natalia.
Thank you. So for this week, everything is going well at the MEC, MKG, and HBB, but there is no update for the MEC or the MKG. As for HBB, this week they have held STEM Week. They have had a ton of virtual visitors this year, including Jay Mankita, who spent a few hours with each class and got the kids to build their own Rube Goldberg machines. Supplies purchased by the PTA were sent home for all students so they could participate. They also had a number of design challenges throughout the week and a number of visitors, from computer programmers to a state trooper for the Massachusetts Bomb Squad. Next week, they are looking forward to their annual sing-along, held virtually for the first time ever. For Nichols Middle School, winter sports started at NMS on Monday, December 14th. Nichols Middle School grades closed last week on Thursday, and their second trimester began on Monday, December 14th. NMS welcomed new students who transferred into school from full virtual to hybrid learning. The transition went smoothly. Student Council has planned 5 days of school spirit, which started Wednesday with Dress to Express your interest in your favorite hobby. Students and teachers are also engaging in a door decorating contest to show their holiday in school spirit. NMS faculty chose to have a Black Tie Tuesday to surprise the students with their fancy attire, which was so much fun. Then for MHS, winter sports also began for MHS on December 14th. Continue to look for updates in the MHS athletic newsletter. The Fine Arts Department hosted their first virtual holiday concert last night. Congrats to all members of the band and the orchestra. As we approach winter break, Student Council is hosting a Spirit Week. Tomorrow, Cohort 3 can choose between Ugly Sweater Day or a Spirit Day. And next week, for Cohort 2, Monday is Pajama Day and Tuesday is Ugly Sweater Day. Tomorrow night, the Speech and Theater Workshop is hosting a virtual holiday movie night at 6 p.m. You can sign up through the STW Google Classroom. Student Council and Mrs. McGurk work together to get holiday cards from students for local nursing homes, and they are being delivered on Monday the 21st. And lastly, the next Student Council meeting will be held on January 13th. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. First and foremost, what did you decide to go with, Spirit or Ugly Sweater?
I'm in Cohort 2, so I don't have
a
decision because I have both of those days next week. Or no, I have Pajama Day and then Ugly Sweater Day, but I think I probably would have done Ugly Sweater Day.
Okay. Just checking on that. Any questions for Natalia? Seeing that, Natalia, have a great holiday
You too.
season. Enjoy your break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is school committee members. Does anybody have anything they wish to report? I'm seeing no one. The only thing I should mention too, there's a memorial procession on Saturday for David and Renee. And I did want the school committee members to know that the superintendent and I had been approached and we approved for the minibus drivers to use our vehicles in the procession because that made sense given Renee's being a bus driver for a long time with us. So we wanted to let you know that. We do not have the co-presidents of the MEA report. The superintendent and I met with them earlier this week. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent's report. So Mr. Lynch, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening. Good evening, members of the committee. My report tonight is varied, much like it has been all along here during this COVID-19 pandemic. We usually start with an update. And I'm going to begin with my update and let everyone know that I indeed was COVID positive and spent 2 weeks quarantining at home and working from home. And you try to do as much as you can without your file cabinets and without your resources at your office. And one of those things that I did miss was a letter. I try to send out a letter when students or staff members are COVID positive, and I did miss a letter next week, and I apologize to the community for that. And we were going to catch up with that probably tomorrow. We're going to try to get a letter out with the update of all those positives that we have identified in the last 2 weeks since our last update. We're also going to try to change the style of that from that constant letter that comes home. It's the same letter with just basically the first paragraph is changed for the most part, and maybe a little bit at the end, like have a happy Thanksgiving or whatever it might be. We're going to try to go with a dashboard. There are a number of school systems that are in the area that have gone with a dashboard on the website, which is basically almost like a ticker, which will be updated once a week with all of the current cases that we have in the school district so that folks realize. I also do want to point out that those letters are informational only, and that those students who are affected and those close contacts who are affected are personally contacted by either school principal or the coordinator of nursing or the public health nurse in town with regard to contact and close contact. So those students who are affected and reflected in those letters are reached, so people reach out to them and let them know. So basically the letter that goes out is just an informational saying, yes, there's another student at Nichols, or yes, there's another student at HPP. And I know folks want to know that at home, and we are going to get that information out. It may just take a different form, but you'll be notified about that form. I also do want to mention, as part of my COVID update, today was the first full snow day of the year. And as you know, there are different school systems that are doing different things with regard to remote learning and snow days. It was our feeling, and I believe the feeling of the school committee, that we wanted to do snow days at least initially, until such time as if it's a very difficult winter, we may make other decisions and save the days in June. But right now we're going on to June 18th. Right now would be our final day, and so we're looking at that for the calendar and hoping for no more snow, but with the realization that. Or the reality that in likelihood there will be more snow moving forward. So again, my apologies for a missed letter last week, a missed communication. It will go out. The style will change. We're going to go to a dashboard on the website. There'll be notification about that. And then at any time, you could just go on the website every Friday and get an update of how many cases we have. Whether we're school specific or not on that, we'll see. But that's something we're trying to work out and trying to work with other school systems who have dashboards and see how they're doing and evaluate them. Look at try to find the best dashboard that we can and develop it here at the district. So that's basically where we're going with that in terms of the COVID updates. Like I said, anybody who has been COVID positive has been notified. Anybody who's a close contact is in quarantine has been notified. We're also working with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health as those quarantine dates and days shift. We're down to like a 7-10 day quarantine, and we're going to change those in our reopening guidelines and change those as we move on, and try to get away from this strict 14 days, which has now sort of changed and morphed as the Department of Public Health has come up with the guidelines. Moderna just announced today that they are moving forward, and they have been approved to move forward with more vaccines. So we're looking forward to the vaccines down the road, and we're looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel with regard to this pandemic and this COVID situation. So looking definitely forward to that. I just wanted to mention that we have a former student who actually worked for the school district in the summer, a Middleborough young man named Sawyer Thomas, who's a graduate of Rensselaer in engineering. And he was delivering mail for us this summer, but had to leave because he went to work for Moderna. So thank you to Sawyer Thomas, a Middleborough High School graduate, and thank you to Moderna, local company, for developing this vaccine. So that's a little bit of a local flavor to this, and hopefully, if you see Sawyer, if you know Sawyer, give him a thumbs up or a thank you. So, and his mom actually teaches at the high school too. So, I wanted to move on with in terms of COVID related and some of the things that we're doing with Dr. Melanie Gates, and invite her to the stage so that she can present a technology update. Some of it is COVID related. Other is just moving forward with technology education, which is something that's very important in our district and something we're trying to really change and develop in our school system. So, Dr. Gates, welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Lynch and school committee members. I know I'm on the agenda for 2 items, and if it's okay if I just go through that in totality, I'm happy to answer questions as we go, but I can just run through what I have for both sections if that's allowable. I do have some slides to share. If there's no objection to running through both topics simultaneously, I can begin a screen share.
Mr. Chair, is that okay with you?
That is perfect by me.
Thank you so much, everyone. As I said, I'm going to do a screen share here just for some visuals that I have for you. And hopefully that's coming up for you there. Showing both. Hold on one moment, please. Tried to have it configured in advance, but that didn't work so well. Just got to show your perseverance with technology. It doesn't always go as planned. So hopefully that's better for you folks. I'm happy to announce within our community that we are launching a new digital learning and teaching team for this school year. The purpose of forming this team is to bring together some innovative educators to collaboratively develop and support implementation of digital teaching and learning strategies that will promote deeper learning for students, faculty, and staff. I also hope to leverage this team to help us identify applications that will enable us to better advance the goals of our district. Our hope is that members of this team, or our plan is, that they would participate in monthly team meetings where we would be sharing some best practices with some of our existing technologies and also talking about new technologies that we see that could help us better engage our students. It's our hope that these members would then present engaging workshops that would be promoted throughout what we call our tech toolbox. These workshops can be for faculty, staff, students, and even families. You know, workshops are great, but oftentimes the questions that you have come afterwards when you're trying to implement a new innovation or strategy. So we would then be offering office hours for folks to be able to connect, whether it's individually or in small group sessions for some additional support. And as stated, you know, the team would contribute recommendations for new technologies to benefit our district. and a task that I think is warranted at this point, and that is, reviewing our acceptable use policies. Of course, policies are subject to the approval of our school committee, but I would like to just have our team review them and see if there's some opportunity to present any proposed revisions to the committee if they're so willing to entertain. We hope that the people that join our team are ones that embrace a growth mindset, that they actually look at failure as an opportunity to learn and improve, much as I demonstrated here with my quick failure to properly do a screen share. We got to learn from those opportunities so that we can grow and improve. Our hope is that the team members that would join are ones that seek and often provide feedback, because that is critical to the growth process. We want people who are just excited about learning. The thing with technology is not everybody gets a chance to sit in a formal workshop to learn about some new innovation. So just that willingness to take a risk and learn and try something new. And obviously, if we're doing workshops, we want people who are comfortable presenting to colleagues and families. While we all are educators, not everybody actually feels comfortable stepping on the stage in front of their peers. So, hopefully we can help people overcome that if that is a challenge for them. But it would be something that would be, beneficial for folks on this team. And just to kind of pitch this a little further, folks that are interested, I'd be looking for a letter of interest that just kind of tells me a little bit about their philosophy with integrating technology in the classroom. And I asked for a brief portfolio, and I'm not looking for people to actually create something new to show their work. They can create a quick video or a screencast exemplifying some work that they've already done. If they've built a website to support their class, or they could just schedule time to meet with me to go over a few things, to just show me what they've been able to do in terms of student engagement and learning. I originally was asking folks to apply by December 22nd, but I got some feedback that people just need a little bit more time. So I'm extending this application window through June 5th. So my hope is that if there's any faculty and staff listening tonight, just to have this as a reminder that this is an opportunity for us to come together as a community and learn and share best practices. And I also just wanted to feature it with our school committee so that you're aware of some of our ongoings. The folks on this team would be earning a nominal financial compensation that is independent of our current collective bargaining agreement with the association. This opportunity is funded through Title IV federal grant funds, which largely aims to support the implementation and integration of technology. Next, I'd like to just continue with a technology update. Last time we talked about devices, and we talked about the 91 Lenovo 14Ws that were purchased through the building project for the high school faculty and staff. Well, I'm happy to say that these devices have actually arrived. They're in our possession in the tech office. So it's great that we're starting to see some of those devices come through. I wish, however, I had some better news about the Chromebooks and the student devices purchased through the high school building project. We're still waiting on those. I did get some information today from our representative at Wally that, again, there's still nothing hard fast coming through to better inform us about when to expect these devices. One item that did recently occur with devices was through Mrs. Carolyn Lyons and the special education team. We were able to buy 57 laptops for special education personnel, and those actually were ordered and came in within a week. So that was a positive sign to see that some technologies are available. Something new to feature. Through collaborating with Mrs. Katie Goodine and Mr. Sean Siciliano, we thought it would be a good time for us to roll out a new feature within Aspen. We do have the ability to have our parent and guardians who have an account within Aspen to update their contact information and that of their emergency contacts. We are opening this, what we call in Aspen, it's called a workflow. We're opening this workflow for our parent and guardians that have accounts in Aspen. And if you don't have an account, you'll be able to create one quite easily. We have put together directions. Thank you to Sean and Katie for putting this together. But there will be a PDF of these directions posted on our website, which walk you through the steps needed to not only change your contact information, but also how to request an account if you don't have one already. I know many of our parents in K through 5 do not currently have parent accounts, and that last year, I know you used your child's account to be able to access our report cards, but we do have the ability for you to request a parent account, which would then give you access through the parent portal. It's real simple to do, and you can just follow the directions that will be featured on our website, and they will also be promoted through our SMORE newsletters that each of our principals send. But the purpose of updating the contact information is to just make sure that we have the appropriate phone numbers and email addresses for our contacts. We want to make sure that our communications are getting to our intended audiences, and having that updated information is important. Through this workflow, you can only update phone numbers and email addresses. You cannot update who are the emergency contacts for your students. If you need to make changes beyond phone numbers and email addresses, you will need to work through your child's school by contacting their main office, or you can contact Katie Goodine directly at kgoodine@middleborough.k12.ma.us. Communication is important all the time, but I think even extra critical is demonstrated by our weather today and the continued impacts of the pandemic. So stay tuned and please be on the lookout for that information. So thank you for that, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anyone might have.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Gates? Mr. Rowe, go right ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Gates, you said that the high school, the building project Chromebooks are in Levandos, and then you said the high school building projects from Wally were not read. Was that the COVID ones, or is that the building project?
That is both, Mr. Rowe. There were three,
Okay.
three different types of devices that have been ordered since June, two of which were funded through the high school building project exclusively, being some teacher devices, as well as one grade level's worth of student devices. So we're real thankful to the community and the building project for supporting that. The 2,000 Chromebooks were set forth through hopefully the COVID reimbursement funds that are available, but we have that order in place. We're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll get some updated information on that soon so that we can continue our planning with how we roll out devices. With the 91 devices that we did receive, just for transparency's sake, we're not in a rush to get those out on the floor. Those would have to specifically go to the high school faculty and staff as designated by the building project. And since they already have relatively new devices, we're going to let them kind of finish out the school year with those devices, and we'll be rolling them out over the summer as part of our process of collecting devices at the end of the year and giving them a newer device. This is partially because the IT team is also working on numerous aspects of the high school project. One of our new members, Mr. Mark Smith, is taking lead on some imaging work that's going to be used for the interactive flat panels that'll be put in our classrooms, as well as preparing that image for the Windows devices that we have on hand. We're also expecting the arrival of the desktops for the high school, which the IT department will be taking lead in installing and imaging. We expect those actually on January 7th. As part of that proposal from the building project. But there's lots going on in IT, and as our timeline continues to evolve, we'll keep up with the work. We'll get devices out as they come in, and we'll keep up with the demands of the building project appropriately. But thank you for your question, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, and I do have a quick follow-up, if it's okay with the chair.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Just with, I know a lot of building projects is because the high school is going to be getting a majority of that. Will there be some roll down to the Nichols Middle and the complex?
In terms of the devices, Mr. Rowe?
Any technology? Will the technology that's currently in the high school now be going down to?
Anything that's serviceable, absolutely. Actually, today as I was working on the budget, I was going back and forth with Michael Mills about a couple issues, and we were talking about the BrightLinks interactive projectors that are in the current high school and how, those bad boys are coming with us. We are going to, not necessarily to the new high school, but they're coming with us in the IT department. We're going to use all the parts that we can. Nothing goes to waste. And we will utilize all available technologies because it'll have a place somewhere in the district. Someone can benefit from it. So we absolutely will.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Mr. Oakley, go right ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Gates. This is I love hearing about the stuff that you guys are working on. I mean, some things that come to mind in addition to this stuff you shared today are the single sign-on stuff that you guys have been working on, and great to hear that you guys are pulling some additional features out of Aspen. And I have to say, I really love the way that you're setting up that digital learning and teaching team. Seems like a great way to pull current good practices out of the team and spread them out. So that's great. I have two questions. One of them I already know the answer to, but I figure the public can benefit from it. I know that there is a new computer shop in town, and I believe that computer shop has been getting some school devices, and I believe that is not what should be happening. And I just wanted to confirm that with you. They should go back to the
That is
school,
correct,
right?
Mr. Oakley. As part of the device loan program user use and care guide, it specifies that school issued devices are not to be serviced by any companies outside of the Middleborough Public Schools. So families are having an issue if there is breakage. It needs to be reported to the school district, and the school district needs to be responsible for the repairs. Not that, the new computer shop in town is great. I can't wait to give it some of my own personal business because I love supporting our local economy. But, this is part of the protocols in order for us to protect student data. Anytime a piece of technology is brought to a shop for repair, your device is accessible to the individuals repairing it. And this has nothing to do with the new folks in town. This is just, business protocols. And in our district, we take protecting our student data very seriously. And that is why those repairs need to be done in-house. And we also need to ensure that the repairs are being done up to our specifications and needs. And again, it's not besmirching the new shop that's in town. It's a phenomenal team that's there. But, we have to have responsibility for the equipment that the town has provided for us, and we need to ensure that they are repaired appropriately.
Absolutely. And I think some folks on Middleborough Helping Middleborough might be happy to hear that we have some security standards for our computers. So I just wanted to call that out so that everyone was aware that that's not what should be done. The second question I had was around the arrival of those COVID devices, and I wondered is it that it's like on its way and there's just no way to track it, or have they actually not like produced them yet? Or I'm just trying to get a better idea of what's going on there.
You and me both, sir. Sean can attest to this. I know Sean's in the background that, we've been given information that, they're on the way, and then that gets retracted. And then one of the more recent communications talked about how a part is still on back order or is not widely available for this particular device. So I don't have 100% factual information that I could feel confident to accurately convey, but if they were in process of being shipped, then what I saw with the recent shipment that we received, we would have been given serial numbers for devices. We would have been given tracking information, but unfortunately that has not come forward. So no news sometimes is good news, but not in this case. I definitely would like more information, and I will be continuing to seek that from our vendor, who has absolutely been 100% responsive to my inquiries. They can't help it if the manufacturer is not, living up to their commitments. But, this whole situation with COVID is crazy in all aspects. And we all just need to continue to demonstrate patience and assume that everyone is operating in the best ways possible. And that's just the frame that I try to take with that.
Sure. And Mr. Chair, if it's okay, just to follow up, I understand too, by the way, the whole world needs devices all at once, and the supply chain's just not built for that. So I get it. But my question, maybe to you, Dr. Gates, or maybe to you, Superintendent Lynch, is I remember that the deadline to submit for reimbursement was, I think, the last day in December. And obviously we just have no guarantee if we're going to get the devices by then. And I wondered if there was any word from the county on whether they would ever consider if we asked for that reimbursement after like January 3rd or something like that we might have any shot of getting it.
So Rich, just so you know, that's not a county decision. That's part of the grant money they were given. I know there has been some conversation, because I had a conversation with Congressman Keating's office as recently as yesterday. But there are similar states, similar districts in the same sort of issue. For example, the information I saw is Texas's educational spending is $4 billion under what they expected. So they're also looking for it to extend, even for the money that was there, primarily for some of the reasons that we're running into, which is they can't get supplies on time in the actual schools. So there is going to be some conversation about that, by the way, Rich.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Gates.
Any other questions for Dr. Gates? Well, thank you, Dr. Gates. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman Young. I wish you all a happy and healthy holiday season.
You too.
You too.
Thank you, Dr. Gates. And Dr. Gates expresses the frustration of the entire district when it comes to the situation. So she expresses it very well. Probably a little more patient than some of us. But it's just one of those things that hopefully, this money will get extended. These deadlines will get extended. Right now, it's a reimbursable grant, as I've stated before. And the money has to come in, be spent with evidence of that money being spent, and then we would get the money back. So, that's the situation we're in. And speaking of money, we're going to bring Sarah Hickey on board here. Prior to that, there are a couple of pertinent comments in the comment section.
I was just going to ask you about them while we're waiting for Sarah.
Yeah, okay. As we transition to Sarah Hickey, there's a question about why were there 0 reported cases to the state between 12/10 and 12/16. That is sort of coupled with the letter that I do, and I apologize for that at the beginning of the meeting, that we will have double the amounts going in tomorrow, basically, that will cover for the 2 weeks. I missed last week because I was COVID positive and I was quarantining at home. This is a step in the process that I missed last week. So to Melissa Tulane and anyone else at home who's concerned about that, I do apologize personally and professionally that I did miss that deadline for submitting those names, which is in the afternoon, late in the afternoon. So that's one. And the other 2 questions are related to snow and weather, et cetera. There are lots of different schools out there about snow days and remote days, and whether we should have snow days or have remote days, or whether we should have snow days at all or school days off at all. Sometimes you try to make the decision the night before if we have enough information, and that was the case last night, where I felt I had enough solid information in talking with probably 24 superintendents around the area and what they were going to do, and everybody at that point decided they were going to have a day, whether it be a remote day or a snow day, a cancellation day or a postponement day, really is what it comes down to for Middleborough, because the day's not really canceled, it's just postponed until June. So we did make that decision. Now, the other piece to this is that throughout the day, beginning at 6 a.m. And throughout up to about 7 p.m., we had workers at our schools, shoveling, clearing, salting. We had contractors within the DPW. Thankfully, we have a very cooperative DPW, and they work with subcontractors, and they come in and they clean our larger areas and do a great job, fantastic job. So we're very pleased with them. Some of the other things that we have to depend on are smaller things, but very important. Even though we don't have a great number of walkers that arrive to our school, because we do pick up students up to about sort of John Glass / Everett Square, we do have some walkers, and what we do rely on sidewalks. And we were assured tonight that the DPW is going out and plowing those sidewalks, plowing Cortland, plowing Mayflower Ave, plowing South Main Street sidewalks, plowing Rock Street and Mitchell Street, Benson Street. So trying to get those sidewalks cleared, because although we don't have a great number of walkers, we do have walkers, and we provide crossing guards for them. And we need to have the town help us with the safety of those sidewalks. So they've assured us they're going to be out tonight and early tomorrow morning to get those done before school starts for the elementary. It's not so much of an issue at middle school and high school, but the Tiger Drive, that sidewalk does get done by our by our own crew. So some updates on that. And there was a comment about my Christmas present to us would be the canceling of school tomorrow. And that's another one of those things that, to you, sir, asking the question, there are a lot of people that would love to have that day off, one more day off. And there's another whole group of people who rely on kids being in school and have to go to work, et cetera. And so that's another one of those things that you put on the scale. And if we can have school, if it's safe for us to go to school, we are going to go to school on schedule. So that's our situation. We don't want to put off one more day till June because we feel that tomorrow will be safe enough and the roads will be clear enough and the sidewalks will be clear enough to transport our students. And parents do step up in situations like that too, because sometimes there's a walker and it's 25 degrees out or it's 20 degrees out, and a parent on that day will hop in the car and drive the student. So that sort of addresses, I think, those questions, maybe not to people's satisfaction, but that's where we stand as a district with regard to that. So I guess we'll move on unless the school committee has any questions on that. Rich, was that a hand up or was that just let's move on?
Go ahead, my friend. I'm fine with that.
So we'll move on to Sarah Hickey, who's our Director of Business and Finance for the school system. And she has a couple of updates here. One is an FY22 budget update, and one is an update on the Champions program that we haven't spoken about a lot lately, but they still are very active and they're with us. And so she's going to provide that update. So Sarah, welcome from home, Sarah, I see.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And you're on. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me, Superintendent Lynch and members of the school committee. There's the song that says it's the most wonderful time of the year, and for a school business manager, budget season is that time of the year. It's where we lay the groundwork, much like a teacher does with their lesson plans, making their plan for what's going to happen in the classroom over the week or the year. The budget season is where the school business manager lays the groundwork for the subsequent year. So I wanted to give you an update as to where I'm at with the budget process. There's the background pieces of where I update a bunch of Excel spreadsheets. Those have gone out. Those are called budget detail sheets. Those have gone out to principals and directors. I sent them out on November 30th so that they would have an opportunity to make their budget requests. Those are due back to me on January 4th. So if you were to look at a calendar, there's 5 weeks between November 30th and January 4th, but really one of those weeks is the upcoming holiday week where a lot of principals are taking personal time. So I tried to set a good solid 4 weeks that the principals could work on this and get it back to me. Once I get the budget detail sheets back from the principals, that's when I roll up my sleeves and get to work with aggregating all of the information that they have given me. And I put together a draft budget, and that goes to the budget subcommittee at the end of January and first week in February. And then the rest of the calendar falls out with the budget hearing at the end of February. The budget goes to the selectmen in March, and then town meeting in April. And that's so that's the overview of what happens with the budget, or the calendar for the budget. And the stage of where we're at is it's in the principal's hands right now, and it will be getting, they'll be tossing the football back to me in a couple weeks, and that's when I spend a lot of time with my nose in a spreadsheet. Any questions about FY22 budget?
Any questions to Sarah, anybody? I need Sean to bring everybody up so I can see them. Any questions about the budget? Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate all the hard work that you do.
Thank you, Chairman Young. The second thing that I'm talking about tonight is the Champions program, our before and after school care vendor. They have a winter break program that they're going to be running December 28th through the 30th at the MEC. They have a full day childcare site set up there, so they'll be running their winter break program at their full-day site at the MEC. Their site directors have put together some fun educational daily themes. For example, holidays around the world. They're going to make an indoor blizzard. They're going to take a magical vacation to Disney. That sounds fun. I might want to go that day. Last week, when the directors of the program communicated with me, they still had a few spaces left. So what I would say to families is, if this is something that might be of interest to you, please get in touch with them. Their information, the sign up about the winter break program is on the Middleborough Public Schools website.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah about the Champions program? All right, cool. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And back to my report. And I had already sort of touched upon item number 6, which is Middleborough Public Schools snow days. And again, I would just say that we're going to do everything we can to have school in school. If there's 2 inches of snow and we're going to come to school. And if there's, if it's unmanageable, then we won't. And today was one of those days, overnight storm into the morning, all day snow. That would have presented a danger to folks. So those are the situations where we would definitely be canceling school. And a little bit more liability these days, there's no doubt about it. And for those folks out there who are in the audience that may remember a time that I do when I was a young person, there was sort of some folklore out there that talked about that superintendent at the time, who was the superintendent from 1968 to 1989, who was a very tall man and would not call off school until the snow went up to his knees. Things were different back then, but we still had 70 square miles, and we did have snow days back then. Contrary to folklore, we probably had fewer, I would say that, but the whole knee thing, not so much, but we'll go along with it for now. So let's move on with my update to the athletics, the winter sports update. There have been some decisions made by the South Shore League, some changes made by the South Shore League, and some updates that need to be brought forth even from a short 2 weeks ago. We've begun the process. Tryouts and practices have begun under the supervision of Ryan Sylvia, our athletic director, and under the coaching of our coaches. So the kids are in the pool swimming, the kids are in the gym shooting, and the kids are on the ice skating. So that's what we have at this point, and some other activities at gymnastics, I believe, also in a co-op program. So we welcome Ryan Sylvia, our athletic director, to provide those updates. Ryan did ask the question today, and I think it probably is worth talking about a little bit with the chair and the school committee, is that, what if we go fully remote? Would we continue to have an athletic program? And both the chair and I had a discussion today, and we've had this discussion in the school committee before, but the feeling for us in Middleborough is we are going to try to stay in school as long as we possibly can in an in-person, hybrid, or fully in-person with our highest needs students, as long as we possibly can, basically until we're told not to go remote, which hopefully that will not happen. That would be gubernatorial at that point from the governor. So it's our intention to stay in. If at some point we went to a remote situation, that would be something that would be called, like I said, at the state level. And at that point, probably all athletics would be canceled anyways. So that would be a point where if we were not in school and we were told it's not healthy to be in school, then part of school is the gym and part of school is athletics. And so we would not have athletics. We would have to cancel the rest of the season at that point. Hopefully we'll never get to that point. But that's just for folks out there who we're going to do everything we can to stay in school, because that's most important to us. And we're going to, and that supports our athletics, our student athletes. We're going to keep those guys too, because we feel it really worked out really well in the fall, and we're hopeful for the winter. So Ryan, there's your introduction. Mr. Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Lynch, and thank you, school committee, for having me on tonight. I think it's great that that's our community and our school committee stance on athletics and school in general. And obviously, if there's nothing we can do about it, then if we're out of school, then athletics is off as well. We started winter sports on Monday, and it's been a success so far, and our students and our coaches are excited. to be given that opportunity to be out there playing and participate in the activities they love. I think Superintendent Lynch hit them all, but we have Nichols Middle School boys and girls basketball currently in tryouts. Middleborough High School boys and girls basketball currently in tryouts. Varsity ice hockey, a cooperative gymnastics team with Carver boys and girls swimming. And we also have boys and girls indoor track practice only. They have been moved to the fall 2 season, but because this is their traditional season, similar to what we did in football and volleyball in the winter, I'm sorry, in the fall, they do have a gym slot time right after school where they're working on some technical aspects and sport-specific strength and conditioning training right now. So that's one piece. We're allowing them to practice, even though they won't have any actual meets until the fall 2 season, which starts February 22nd. So overall, we've got about 220 students participating in athletics right now. We plan on adding some off-season training and strength and conditioning when we get back from the break, and that's going to be on January 11th. So basically, our games are scheduled to start January 8th, no earlier than January 8th. And then right after those games start and we get the winter in full swing, we'll start some off-season activities and strength and conditioning leading up to fall 2. There was a press release that went out from the South Shore League with some updates and changes that Superintendent mentioned. First one being that there's no games played prior to January 8th. Now, those are only competitive actual game situations. We do intend on having some practice scrimmages and things like that as kind of a dry run through to make sure we have all of the we're following all the protocols and guidelines, and our coaches and event staff and game administration feel comfortable with those. There will be, as of now, there will be no fans home or away for South Shore League competitions. And that was a decision that was made by the league. The guidelines do allow, the state guidelines do allow some wiggle room for fans, but unfortunately, right at this time, we feel as a league that the safest thing is for us not to have fans at the games. And we intend to live stream as many games as possible. We have a really nice camera that can actually follow gameplay in the MHS gym. So we intend on having all the games that are in the gym live streamed for parents to watch. And then we're going to be working with our tech department to hopefully get some swim meets and games that'll be at Nichols Middle School and at the MEC live streamed as well. It's going to be difficult to get all of those games live streamed, but we're going to do the best we can to make that happen for families. All host schools have to adhere to the guidelines, and we have some set guidelines from the state and also some league guidelines. And what we've done, or what the league has asked every school to do, is provide a document that basically outlines the layout of your gym, the layout of your pool space if anyone's coming into your pool, and the layout of your ice rink, so that everybody is aware of where they're going, where the team areas are, where the mask break areas are that are going to be outside in most cases if students need to take their masks off. And so we're really going to try to run a tight ship. There's no entry of one team until the other team has already left. So for example, if we typically have a JV basketball game followed by a varsity basketball game, that varsity team coming in for the late game is going to be on their bus until both JV teams have exited the facility. Our custodial staff and games event staff disinfect all the high-touched areas, sweep the floor, and get the next team in ready to go. So really trying to keep things safe. And our facilities director, Jim Hutchinson, and the head custodians at all of our schools that we're using for athletics right now that have gym space have been great. I've met with each of them, and in some cases we've got our coaches and students, assisting with the moving of desks or disinfecting the areas and helping with that, and everybody's been great to work with that on that end. And then the last piece for this is reevaluating the circumstances as they play out. If we feel like we need to change some of the protocols as the season progresses, then we're going to do that. And we have weekly meeting with all the athletic directors who are in communication with their administration, and just making sure that we're running athletics as safely as possible throughout the year. Another piece. So that's really my update at this point, just making sure I didn't have anything else on my notes, unless there's any questions from the committee.
Mr. Oakley, go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sylvia. I was just wondering, I think you mentioned no games can happen before, was it January 8th?
Yes.
Is that the right day? Yeah. What was the rationale behind that from the state or the league?
The rationale, I think, was to make sure that, or was really to make sure that everybody was comfortable with getting their athletic program up and running, getting their coaches familiarized with the protocols, and also a little bit of a gap between the winter break and family gatherings and things like that. I think that was really the the mindset there.
Got it. Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would just say to Mr. Oakley, through the chair and also through Ryan Sylvia, is that there was some discussion at the superintendent level about conditioning. Some of these kids hadn't done anything perhaps in the fall, and it also is an opportunity for these kids to get conditioned as athletes if they're weren't particularly prepared right away. So really, it's basically a 3-week period prior to games, right, Ryan?
Correct.
Yeah. So.
Got it. Thank you.
There's also, sorry if I can mention one other thing. We are extending the any sport that has has to make cuts due to the roster limits with COVID. We are extending the tryout. In most cases, it was to Friday tomorrow, but now with the snow day, we're looking at extending that to Tuesday before the winter break. And really, we just want to make sure that every student gets an opportunity if they had to stay out of school for whatever reason, they have a chance to try out for the team. And so that's our intention right now, and making sure everybody gets that chance.
So I guess first and foremost, I want to say, Ryan, I feel bad for especially the seniors for essentially indoor sports, because I can't imagine what it'd be like to play a basketball game, for example, without anybody being there. I know it'd be great for the referees, but for the kids, I think it's sad. One of the things I would ask you to do for us, Ryan, is I assume we'll still do something in a sort of a different fashion for senior night for the seniors of each sport. And whenever that happens, whatever form that takes, if you could let us know about that, just so we know about it. That's all, because I think that's as important for a lot of these kids as much as people coming to their games.
Absolutely. I think we will definitely recognize our seniors, and it might look a little different than it has in the past, but we'll make it a special night for them, whatever that senior night is, or however we organize that.
Those are important to parents. Right, Teresa?
Any other questions for Ryan? So Ryan, I can't emphasize enough how much we appreciate you having to adapt constantly on the fly. And with all due respect, we haven't even gotten to fall 2 yet. And we don't know what that holds, especially where we just get dumped with this much snow to begin with. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and and Mary and everybody and all the coaches that are going on the fly and trying to change stuff. But really, the emphasis is making sure there are opportunities for our kids to be part of school life. I mean, this is as important to them as a class or anything else. And for some kids, it keeps them in class and makes them work hard in class to be able to do these other things. So I think it's great that everything that you're doing and your staff's doing. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things we talked about at our coaches meeting is the coaches are excited just to be out there. The kids, we talk about social emotional learning in our district all the time, and this is really a place where that happens, every single day. And the coaches and the students are ready to pivot. We'll take on whatever mentality we need to. If we need to make a change based on the circumstances, then we'll do that. So, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, following the Twitter feeds of the head coach of both the boys basketball and girls basketball, you get really excited about the season, because they've been tweeting for a couple of months, looking forward to the season, and they were really excited about Monday's day one. So, and probably pretty disappointed about day 4 here Thursday with the snow day, but another day of practice. But hopefully the kids can practice their dribbling at home. Thank you, Ryan. Do appreciate it. I appreciate the updates, and those are important to us. We're going to move on here to Middleborough High School with a couple updates, and we haven't heard from Paul Brannigan in a while at a meeting. Paul was generally featured at almost every single school committee meeting live in person, but we haven't seen a lot of him at these meetings. So we're going to welcome Mr. Paul Brannigan to the stage, and he's going to provide us with a Middleborough High School a general update on some things going on. There was some concerns raised at a selectmen's meeting this week about the high school, and I think that Paul would like to respond a little bit. Welcome, Mr. Brannigan, and thank you for being here remotely. And a little bit. Welcome, Mr. Brannigan, and thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. I think you can hear me. I was having trouble getting in, so I think I'm all set. So I think I'm good. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for inviting me to come in to give a few updates. First and foremost, I have been very, very proud of what the high school has been able to accomplish since our opening in September. Between the high school faculty, the student body, we have just been very, very pleased. And I just want to thank everybody for that. We have been working very hard on just kind of making sure we can keep a level of normalcy in all of our programming. And as I could completely echo what Mr. Lynch said and Mr. Young in regards to the incredible work of Mr. Sylvier and Ms. Farley and the coaching staff of our seasons to ensure the fact that our athletic program is up and running. The arts last night, if you saw that Mr. Pitsley and the band was able to do their holiday concert, albeit it looked very different, but it was just so nice to be able to hear music playing. And just a deep thank you to the activity side of the building as well to ensure the fact that things are still happening. Some important just pieces to note is that we've been working with the class of 2025 at the middle school, as this is an important time for them in their transition to the high school, as they're making decisions of what is in the best interest for them in their next chapter of their educational journey. And working with Mrs. Latender and Miss Moriarty at the middle school back in early November, we put into the school committee in the 8th grade of making sure the fact that we could collect questions from them. And so a Google survey went out through their school community, through the 8th grade and their parents and guardians to ask us questions about the high school. And what do you want to know from a 9th grader? What did you want to know from a 12th grader and from teachers as well? And then we took all of that data and we created 3 programs. And that started for the last 3 Mondays, the Monday after Thanksgiving, November 30th, to the 7th of December, as well as this past Monday night, the 14th. And we had it from 3 very different perspectives. So we had our 9th grade officers, the 5 of them led the event on that first night to really talk about what has their experience been like in their transition. To then also the week after, a team of teachers who represented all different aspects of our school community and really talked about what it was like to be at the high school and what is it like to work with our students and why should they be considering coming to the high school. And then as well, this past Monday night, our 12th graders as well. And we were really quite excited by that. And so on top of that, which I'm hoping that many of our 8th grade families and maybe many in our community were able to see, is that this year's 8th graders are going to be the first group to not enter the current high school, that they will spend all 4 years in the new building. which is really quite exciting. And so part of that experience was we always do like this welcome video and what we call the choice is yours, and working collaboratively with Mr. Siciliano and Adam Pelletier, and of course the collaboration in agreement with Compass Project Management, which is our project management company for the new school. We were able to get in there on a Sunday morning into the new building and actually do a day in a life in that school, and really what our students would be able to, the different areas of the building. And it's a video that I know is on MET that you can access. And we were really quite excited by that as well, to just give them a flavor of really what their high school journey will be like, from the academic building to the performing arts to the athletic center. And then, of course, the beautiful campus that is coming to life as well. So I just wanted to update you on that. And then there was also one other thing that Mr. Young and Mr. Lynch had brought to my attention that I thought was important to just take a moment and respond or to address. There seemed to be a concern that was raised at another meeting in the community earlier this week in regards to incidents in our restrooms at the high school in regards to the smoking marijuana. And I must be candid with the committee. I have no record of any of that at all. We have had no reports of that. Last year, we did have some issues with vaping that forced us to be able to strategize and to figure out how to navigate all those issues through dealing with those students, particularly educating them, working with our Sachem supporters group, as well as implementing our curriculum in our physical education classes. That was really an all-team effort to make sure the fact that our restrooms were not a place for that. This year, we embarked on a brand new experience in regards of our hall pass system, which is really called our e-hall pass, which is an electronic pass that there's no more paper copies, there's no more lanyards, and really it is that students will enter where they want to go into their computer. The teacher approves their pass, and it was really given to or brought to us really for contact tracing, so that we would be able to monitor actually if we ever needed it. Where students were if they were not in class at that time, and it would allow for us to be able to do that. And that has been a great help to us as well. But I would say just to the committee the fact that I have no record of any of those reports at all. So I just wanted to make sure that was brought to your attention.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate that, because to put it into context, just so everyone knows, and I know Brian and Paul know this, the way it has always worked at Middleborough, I have been a school committee member for 7 years. In that 7 years, for the vast majority of that time, I have been chair. Anytime a student is involved in an illegal substance, the principal always notifies myself and the superintendent. I have obviously, and I usually notify the committee. I am not notified by who the student is. It's just sort of, there was an incident. There's sort of an explanation of what those incidents occur, and that applies to a lot of different things. I also get notified of any incident where a child leaves the school via an ambulance. I also get notified anytime the police or fire show up at a school and respond. I should also add, when the police are usually involved, I also get notified by the chief of police too, because that's the way we've always worked it out together. So I had not heard of any of these incidents. I would also add that if you look at what's happening, there are less children using the bathroom because of the system and because of what's going on with COVID. There's a bigger tracing of that system because of what has to happen. And so I was sort of floored by what we were hearing, and just wanted to check in with Paul and make sure that we hadn't missed anything. And I also know that there are 8th grade parents who in the next couple of months will make a determination about where their kids go to school. And so we sort of wanted to lay it out of what we see. I think I speak for everybody here when I say, are there kids using marijuana at the high school? Probably, just like every other high school in the nation. And that happens. But when we know about it and when we are aware of it, it is dealt with. It is dealt with according to our handbook, and it's dealt with accordingly. I don't think we overreach, but I think we do what's appropriate, and I appreciate that. But I didn't want something to be out in the community that sadly, none of us are aware of. And if people have that interpretation, my suggestion would be that you contact Paul at the high school and talk to him about it, or you contact Brian and just have that conversation with them, because we haven't heard that and I haven't seen that either. And so thank you for addressing that, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Brannigan did mention that there was an issue, or there were some issues last year with some vaping and trying to do some accountability with regard to who was doing it and where they were doing it. So there were some bathroom closures at different places in the school, but there were bathrooms available to the students at all times. So, just sort of moving on from that, and if there are no questions from the committee, the last piece of my report is the MCAS update, which does involve Mr. Brannigan to a certain extent, basically. At the last meeting, I came to you and said there may have to be some adjusting, or potentially some adjusting of the schedule, because of a week or so that we might need in January, so that we can switch the cohorts around, so we can get the students in to get the testing done inside 1 week. There have been some updates to that, Mr. Brannigan.
Right. As we know, that the ever-shifting sands of COVID-19, that we had worked with Mr. Lynch, or the high school had come to Mr. Lynch with a request of potentially needing to do some potential navigating of our cohorts at the high school because of the state testing for grade 11. That we were in the preparation of engaging all of the 11th grade in their MCAS test in January as directed by the state. However, as we were getting ready to begin to present the plan to Mr. Lynch and all of our stakeholders at the high school, the state had changed their direction and put the entire 11th grade testing protocol on hold. So we're waiting to hear what the next steps will be. We're working with Mr. Dizell, who coordinates all of our testing at the high school, and as there may be a small group of 12th graders that may need it, but we're not sure that is even the case. We have to go through all of our data just to make sure the fact that we're in good form, because that is the only population of students that would be eligible to test in January, but we're not anticipating we'll need to have any of that time. Right now, we're getting ready to order our exams for 9th grade biology, so that all of our 9th graders that are in biology this semester would be actually scheduled to test in February, and they gave us a span of time for those students. And to note, that will be in our new semester. So that may allow for us to have a little bit more flexibility than what was being presented for us in grade 11, because of the timing that the state gave and where that cohort 2 group fell. It was really limiting us on the number of days to do math and English at the same time. Note in a normal year, that your 10th graders would be taking their English exam in March and their math exam in May. And that really what the state direction had been was the fact that we were doing both math and English within days of each other. So we were somewhat relieved of the pause. We don't know what that means. And I just wanted to make sure the fact that that was brought up as well. So we'll keep you all posted on that. We are getting ready to engage the 9th graders. And right now, everything is on point for our 10th graders to do their full battery of assessments in May.
Thanks, Mr. Brannigan. Are there any questions from the committee to Mr. Brannigan or myself with regard to MCAS? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brannigan. It's always good to see you at these meetings.
Nice to see everyone. Happy holidays.
The only thing I wanted to say about
get on stage more often. There's no doubt about it. So.
The only piece I wanted to mention, Brian, about that we had talked to Paul about was about MCAS. There is still some concern about, if you think about it, the current 11th graders who were 10th graders last year who didn't take MCAS, who didn't take MCAS this year. MCAS in the 10th grade is for them to get Adams scholarships. So the state has not worked out how that's going to happen. So we are still waiting for some answers on that. And I asked Paul to keep an eye on that and let us know about that. So that's one piece I wanted everyone to be aware of.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would just close out my report by thanking the school committee for your support. I know you were aware of the fact that I was COVID positive. I didn't anticipate it. When I first had some little symptoms, I thought it was a reaction to a flu shot that I had the day before. Those sort of persisted a little bit. And then it got a little scary for me. And quite truthfully, not a lot of things I'm afraid of in life, but death is one of them. And I look at the news every night, and it became very real for me in a very personal way. So I'm glad I wasn't hospitalized. I'm glad I wasn't on the count, almost on the news every night, as we know, as we see. I had very few symptoms, very little symptoms, and I made it through the other side, I guess, if you will. And I just again, I'd like to thank you for your support. But it's real, and we have to watch what we do, and we're cleaning our schools, we're disinfecting our schools, and perhaps I'm going to be a little bit more in tune with this as we move on. So again, I thank you, and it's not something I wanted to announce initially, but it is something that I guess maybe people need to know, and people need to be aware of, that it's pretty prevalent out there, and people need to make sure you're maintaining your social distancing and wearing your mask and washing your hands and keeping your hands away from your face, and really working hard at it, and how you get together in groups. It's very easy to get together with large groups because that's what we're so used to. We're gregarious people, especially of those of us who are. And it's difficult not to. So it's difficult to take a step back, but I would ask everybody to just take a step back, even if it's for a few more months or the rest of this year or into the middle of next year, whatever it is, whatever it takes. Let's try to eradicate this COVID-19 as quickly as we can. So thank you very much, and happy holidays to everyone, and enjoy your time, and we'll see you again in January in a formal meeting. Obviously, I'll communicate with you as we move on here through Friday flashes, Friday communications, etc. So thank you.
Does anyone have anything before I take a motion to adjourn? Seeing no one, I would thank everybody, and again say happy holidays, and especially happy New Year. This year has been probably tougher than I've ever experienced as a member of the school committee. And as I said before, I'm very thankful to have all of you and the administration that we have, and the great teachers and the great students. So with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And thank you very much, everybody. See you January 14th of next year. And please remember to watch the games on live stream for all our sports teams. So thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thanks.